Okay, so if you're looking at this, you want some tips. So I'll go with a medium, even though this is fairly easy. So you probably know the basic components of a Sudoku. So you want 1 to 9 in all the boxes, you want 1 to 9 in the columns, and 1 to 9 in the rows. So easy way to start is with these easy ones is, so you look at a 1 there, so the 1 cuts out those 3, this next one over here cuts out those 3, and then look for the 1 here which cuts out those 3. So that means all of these are covered by 1s, which leaves that as the only one left to be a 1. So when you get these easy ones, this is sort of the first thing you want to do is check any that sort of you can just make as simple as that with no real sort of struggle in terms of what they actually are. So there's that one done. So look for others that are the same. So if you've got this 7 here and this 7 down here, that cuts out that row, this one cuts out that row, which leaves that as the only one left that can possibly be a 7. So simple as that. And there's another one in. So when you're looking at that, it's good to go around the board to see what's sort of around. So you look for more 7s. So this 7 here cuts out that. This 7 up here cuts out this one. And this 7 here cuts out that. So that leaves, again, that as the only possible one. So that's fairly standard. And then when these two 7s here are used, they cut out these 2 rows, which makes this one a 7 here. Once you've got this, you've got these 2 7s. These cut out these bottom 2 rows. You've got this 7 as well. Easy, so it cuts out, and that makes that the 7. Again, you just use the ones you've just generated. So this 7 and this 7 here cut out these first two rows, and then you've got this 7 in the corner again, cutting that out. So that's the 7s in, and that's all the 7s done. So as simple as that, just working your way around the board until you figure out exactly what's sort of going on. Now, the other things that you can do are if you look at things like the 2s here, so you look at that, so that can't be there. This 2 takes out this row here, but it leaves these 2 as possible 2s. But what that does do is mean if these 2 have to be a 2, that cuts out this bottom row here for this middle box. So you've got these 2 being blocked from the 2 because one of those has to be it, and this one being blocked from the 2 as well, which means the top one has to be a 2. So even though it's not as obvious as the others, it's a fairly simple, straightforward sort of method to use, and that gives you a 2 there, which is quite handy. Now we'll move on to the next one. So it'll probably be 5. We can do some 5s, so this 5 takes out that, which means that's the only possible 5 that's there. So we'll use these 2 5s again. So these 2 5s take out these 2 rows, which again leaves that as your only possible 5 option. And we'll use the same trick as we did last time. So this cuts out this row, which means one of these 3 has to be a 5, and that moves all the way up there. This moves all the way up here, so it's one of these 2. Obviously you can see the 5 over here cuts out that, so that makes that a 5. So there, that one's done. Now you've added that in there. This cuts out this row here. This 5 cuts out this row here, and you've got a 5 and a 5, which means that is the only one that possibly can be a 5 in that sort of option. So then you've got some 5s added. Now again, you can do the same thing with the 9. So you've got a 9 here that takes out this row, a 9 here that takes out this. So it means one of these 2 has to be a 9. So this 9 and one of these 9s will take out these rows, which means that up top, well, corner there needs to be a 9 as well. So you've got that 9 covered. So once we get to that stage, you're sort of starting to get a bit more filled in, and it's just a matter of time really before you, so the more you fill in, the easier it becomes. We've got 1s here, so this 1 takes out these 2, which means this is the only one that can be a 1. You use the one you've already generated, move it across here, and the same as before, that's your 1 there. Now once you start getting boxes almost filled up, you can start looking at what needs to go in the box. So for this one, I've noticed a 3 over here takes out these 2, so that means that must be the 3. So you've got a 3 there. So in this box, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're missing a 6 and you're missing a 9. So look for a 6, look for a 9. There's a 9 up here, takes out that one, so it means that's a 9. Only one left in that box is a 6, so must be a 6. So you've completed that row. So that's that box, sorry. Once you've got the complete box, that's one way of doing it. The other way is looking at columns here. So this column has a 1, missing a 2, has a 3, 4, missing a 5, so it's a 2 and a 5. So you've got a 2 and a 5 here. So obviously this one has to be a 2, this one has to be a 5, because you can't have two 5s in the same row. And the same principle there, can't have two 2s in the same row. So that makes those two pretty simple. Now, if we go over, well, let's just have a look around what's sort of missing. So this is a 1, so you've got a 2 missing, a 3 missing, and an 8 missing. So you've got an 8 here, takes out those two rows, leaves the only 8 spot is there. So that's your 8 missing there. What were the other numbers that we're looking for? 2 and a 3. So we look for 2 and a 3. Nothing in these two rows that are 2 and 3, so it could be any at this point. If we know that's a 2 and a 3, we can look at what's missing in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're missing a 6. So that means that must be a 6. That makes sense because there's a 6 up here in the top corner, and that takes out that row and leaves that as the only 6. So once we've got that 6 there, we can move across to this middle row. We can see that that 6 takes out the bottom, so that must be a 6. Only one left in that middle box is now a 1, so nice and simple there. Now, what you can do is, so we'll look at this row here. So again, so this should be, what is this, a 1, a 3, and a 9. So we look for a 1, a 3, and a 9. So at the moment we've got a 1, a 3, and a 9, so they really could be in any order. So we need to get some more in this this box here before we can make a decision. Now, what we want to look at is, well, let's go to this box here that's a bit more empty. So what have we got? We've got 3s, but we've also got a 3 in there. We've got 1s, we've got a 1 in there. There's an 8 here. So this 8 goes here and here, so it leaves those two as the 8. Again, same thing as before. Takes out this 8, this 8 takes out these two, this 8 takes out that, so that means leaves that one as an 8. So you've got your 8 there. So the next thing that we want to look at is, well, we can go with, what have we got? We're missing 2s, so this 2 takes out these, leaves us with these. So we can either do it that way or go this row here, 1, so missing a 2, there's a 3, missing a 4, so we need a 4. So this 4 takes out that and that 4, so leaves it as a 4 there. Again, in here, the only one missing is a 2, so that's how we know that's a 2. So what are we missing in here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we're missing a 6 and a 9. So 6 is there, so that means that can't be a 6, so that we've got a 6 here and a 9 here, and that's as simple as that. So now this column here, so 1, 2, 3, so we're missing a 4, so that must mean that's a 4. Makes sense because we've got a 4 and a 4 here, and that clears those, leaves that as the only possible one to be a 4. Now that we know that 4, we can take out this row, this 4 up here takes out this row, this 4 down here takes out that, and we've got a 4 there. So now that we're in this box at the top right hand side, we've got 1, we're missing a 2, a 3, a 6, and an 8. So let's start with, well, there's a 3 there and a 3 here, so it means one of these two must be a 3. We don't know which one it is, but again we'll use the same trick, so that means that takes that bottom one out there of being a 3 and we put a 3 in there. The only other one missing here is a 2, so we've got 2s. Now this will help us with this next box across, whereas this 2 takes out these two, this 2 takes out that, which leaves the only 2 option there. And moving this across to the next one means the only 2 option is there because of those 2 there, taking out those bottom 2 rows. Now, once we've got the 2 there, we can move down to the bottom and get the 2 there. So once you start to get the more filled out that you get, the easier it does get. So that's a 2. So what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and missing an 8. So that must mean that's an 8. Now, once we've got that, so these two 8s here take out the top 2. This 8 takes out that, so it leaves us this one as the only 8 left. Once we know that, we can move that up into the next box. Those two are taken out by the 8s below, and it means that's the only 8 possibility. Move this across to the middle box here, and means that's the only possible 8 because it's the other rows are taken out by those two 8s. And then I'm pretty sure we can fill this box out fairly straightforward. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're missing a 6. Where's a 6? 6 is there, so that must mean we've got a 6 here. 7, 8, and a 9. Once we move on to the next one down, let's start with, well, what do we want? So we need a 1. So where can a 1 go? We don't know yet. So 2, we've got 3. Where can a 3 go? A 3 can go, well, we don't know that one either. 4. So 4's here. So 4 takes out those. 4 and a 4 leaves that one as a 4. Need to find the 5 as well. So 5's down in this one as well. So that takes out that row. 5 here, so that takes there. So that means that's a 5. So we've got a 1. So what are we after? 1, 3, and a 9 go in those 3 spots. So we've got a 9 here and a 9 here. So that means we've got the 9. 1 down here takes out that row, which means the 1's there. So 1, 2, and 3's the last one to fill up there. So that'll take us to this top one. So we've got 1, 2, need a 3, so 3 goes here. 4, 5, and we need a 6, so 6 goes there. Across here, last 3 to fill out, so pretty simple. 1, look for 1's there. 1, 2, missing a 3, so 3 goes here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the very last one is a 9. Job. And that's job done. So 11 minutes 44 to take that out. It's the first time I've actually done a medium difficulty one, but I'm sure you could do, once a little bit of practice, get it done a lot faster. So yeah. Well done, job done. Hopefully that you can follow along. I might do a couple of harder ones as well, just to give a bit of an idea of some other methods that you can use. But that's sort of the easy ones at the moment, and they're sort of the very basic things that you need to do to get the Sudoku done. Thanks very much.